welcome to Inside Edition to discuss national, regional and international issues in depth. Bahrain's unique location at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, as well as its historical role as a trade hub, has made it a strategic area for financial technology. As the government has invested heavily in FinTech and as it moves towards innovation and digitalization, the FinTech industry in Bahrain is developing and growth is projected to continue for years to come. Several factors working in tandem have led to the development of this unprecedented landscape of opportunity for local and international companies. As the fintech market continues to develop, so does the opportunity for women in fintech. To talk more about Bahraini women's role and aspirations in fintech industry, we are pleased to be joined here in the studio by the board member and public relations director of the Women in Fintech Initiative, the CEO and founder of Andra Public Relations, Fatma Ibrahim. Welcome back to the studio. Joining us here is Ms. Fatma Ibrahim. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
FinTech is a concept that's been there for a few years, but at the same time, FinTech is it's not very well understood by the public. But basically, FinTech or financial technology is used to describe new mechanisms that seek to improve and automate the delivery and use of financial services, which we see now is a big need for, especially with this fast-paced world. What can you tell us about this concept and what are the changes it provides for the society?
Of course, FinTech is a really interesting topic. I actually had this paper a few days ago and it kind of broke it down in a very simple term. So FinTech 1.0, I'm just going to go a little bit back, 1886. Yeah. We're going to start from there. That's when we had the first rapid transmission of financial information across borders. And then we have FinTech 2.0, where it's first ATM, we went from analog to digital, and this is where we're going towards the kind of like the early start of digitization.
Wow.
And then now we're in FinTech 3.0 to 3.5. This is when, actually, let me just go back, FinTech 2.0 ended with the financial crisis in 2008. Yeah. So people lost trust in the banks, traditional wasn't working, there were underbanked segments, and a lot of things happened that kind of led to where we are now. Yeah. And now the main focus is startups. All these smaller people, the smaller guys came in wanting to get the trust back, and they just created all these products and new solutions, and they're coming in with banks as a supplementary force. So everybody starts to think, what is FinTech really? It's finance and technology blended in. Yeah. And it's these startups that actually bring all these innovative technological products, and they're helping the banks kind of supplement and kind of serve the underbanked segments of the bank as well. Or that the bank will buy the startup at the same time and then they would work together, or they'd coincide together as a partnership. So it's finance and technology coming together to do greater things. So why would I go visit a branch and fill out a bunch of papers when I can open an account in a few minutes? Yeah. Or why would I apply to a loan and have to go visit a branch to do that, or wait for my preferences within 1 or 2 weeks when I can have a chatbot kind of tell me all my preferences based on my personality. Absolutely. So this is kind of the basic knowledge of what FinTech is.
Yeah. With FinTech comes a lot when it comes to the concept of security and monitoring and that kind of stuff. How do people nowadays feel when it comes to their safety concerns and entering into the FinTech field?
Of course, it's all about awareness. Anything new that happens, any disruption that enters the market, you also have to be doing your due diligence on how to keep safe yourself. And a lot of the organizations, especially when it comes to fraud, cybersecurity, they teach the consumers, hey, we have this new product, but this is what you can do to keep yourself safe. And they've also analyzed all the security measures that they have to put in place before you use a new product. Yeah. So with the whole biometrics, or taking a selfie, for example, to verify who you are, there's a lot of other security measures that are being talked about right now that are coming into the market, which is really exciting. But it's really about awareness campaign safety. So it's the individual, the organization coming together and kind of coming up with the different factors on how to keep yourself secure with whatever product that you're using.
Yeah. Well, go back to the security aspect at the end, because a lot of people don't understand where the awareness is supposed to be coming from. But something I'm really excited to talk about is a woman in FinTech, and specifically Bahraini women in FinTech who have made such great strides, you being one of them.
Thank you.
Tell me about the current projects and the future projects when it comes to women in FinTech.
Well, I'm going to start by saying Bahraini women have always been passionate. They've always been dedicated. They've had a rich history thanks to the Supreme Council of Women, thanks to the ecosystem itself. But the only change is that we have this new age of disruption. Yeah. How do we get women to play a part in this new era of digitization, going cashless? We have a lot of things that are happening and shifting. So how do we get women to participate at all the different phases of this disruption, right? It actually started with a conversation. We were saying we have a lot of women in FinTech. They just don't realize that this is the role that they're playing. And we have a lot of women that want to get into FinTech, but they just don't understand the definition. What does a woman in FinTech look like? Yeah. So, for example, we have the CEO of Seco Bank, for example, Yasmin Al-Sharaf, who's heading the FinTech unit. There are so many big people like that are running and making waves in the financial sector. So it started as a conversation. We have these women. We want more women. What should we do? We don't have a platform. So we started it in early 2018. I think it's the first women in FinTech initiative in the region, I would say, that's officially formalized. So it's called WIF. We call it WIF BH. You can follow us on our social media channels to see what we're doing. But it started as a conversation to create a platform to bring all these amazing women that are doing all these strides within the financial sector and kind of pushing them to talk about what they're doing. It's kind of like we're allowing other women to shadow these women in the FinTech sector. What do you do on a daily basis? What is really FinTech? I mean, what does a woman do in FinTech? Is it really scary? Do you have to, we have misconceptions about the whole area. People say, oh, I'm not a financial guru or I'm not tech savvy, but it has nothing to do with that. Of course, it's great if you had some financial knowledge and you could code at the same time. But being in FinTech is the vast amount of skills that you can have is what makes it attractive. Yeah. You could be a marketing person doing the key messages, the personas. There are new roles, like for example, I've heard of this role that I really like, customer experience officer. Okay. We never had that before. So there's a lot of room for people that want to be involved in this space and to kind of dab in their hands to it and kind of dive in. Yeah. There's a lot to do. And I think this platform focuses on 3 elements. It's increasing awareness of women within the FinTech space, is also increasing ties. So we're already in talks with other women in FinTech groups across borders that are doing amazing as well. Yeah. And we're trying to build a database of mentorship, workshops. We're trying to build an internship track as well. So when university graduates have the chance to kind of want to see a new sector that they want to get into, then they come to the Women in FinTech initiative and we kind of help them see all the opportunities that are ahead.
That's amazing. One of the things that I had another guest on the show, and her specialty was information technology and computer sciences, basically, and she was talking about the growth of women within the computer fields. But she said something very interesting, that there are more women graduating from technology and computer fields than there are women that actually get jobs within the same field, because there is some kind of a general mistrust, or let's say not enough awareness about women within this field. What do you comment on something like that?
I agree. I feel like, let me put it a cool number, 70% of students that study business and STEM in Bahrain actually want to get into FinTech, but some of them don't. Okay. And there's a gap. Why? One, they always think it's still a male-dominated field. So it's kind of scary. It's like the more women you see in a field, the more you feel comfortable thinking, oh, okay, this is a space that I can get into. But if you see more of a male-dominated space, you always feel like you'd have to do 10 times more, or you'd have to be, the best coder, or you'd have to have the best financial information, be that kind of a guru to kind of top that. But that's a misconception. Everyone does their due parts. Another one is as well, we don't hear a lot from other women. We have a lot of women in FinTech, but they're not, it's changing now, but they weren't as vocal on the industry as before. So we didn't have a blueprint for people. So it's the more reviews you read about a restaurant, the more likely you're going to visit. But if I'm not hearing from another woman that is making strides in the financial sector and talking about her experience, her failures, her gaps, I wouldn't feel comfortable to go into the same realm. And also, if we can go back as well, young women didn't really think that they would ever work in the startup space. True. It's unstable, it keeps changing, the regulations are changing. It's a higher risk field. It's a higher risk field, so you don't know where you're going to end up, so that's why people don't want to break from their comfort zone. But if we tell them that this is an exciting field, it's challenging, you're not going to lose your job, you're just going to be doing different things all the time, and you have to be adaptable.
Absolutely.
So adaptability is the key. It's not you being having the fear of losing something. It's just teaching them how to adapt to changing times. This is disruption. You're going to have disruption in any sector.
Yeah.
It's not just FinTech.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, there are several women in Bahrain that are driving innovation in finance. You mentioned Ms. Yasmin before. And this innovation is specifically in finance and making headway in the fintech world. What are the most important facts and figures about the progress and the reasons behind it, specifically to Bahrain and the region?
So, according to the Central Bank of Bahrain, which I believe which is in 2018, they had some cool numbers that I want to share. So, 39% of women in Bahrain are actually in the financial sector, and 33% actually hold managerial positions. I mentioned Yasmin before.
Yeah.
The first FinTech unit in Central Bank, I have to really applaud what they're doing. The sandbox, the new regulations, it's a fast-paced sector. But I feel like this is all happening. I call it the ripple effect.
Yeah.
The more you see women doing what they do in FinTech, and you see them talking about the field, talking about the new regulations coming in and all their different roles, the more women come after them.
Yeah.
It's kind of this is what ripple effect does.
Like they're paving the way for them.
They're paving the way for them. So we need to have more women to be outspoken like that. And we also hold workshops under the Women FinTech Initiative as well. So it's kind of like an open day. Come in, talk to us, have a conversation, know what FinTech is really about, talk about your career. For example, we'd have a marketing person come up to us. Hey, I studied marketing. I don't know if FinTech is the right place. Well, yeah, it is. Well, this is what you can do with your marketing degree within the FinTech space. For example, we have one of our new members is the COO of Hayatech, Sandra Knight.
Okay.
So it's very interesting. She has a wellness technology platform, and wellness is a very big issue right now.
Of course.
So we're doing our first workshop very soon in February, and we're talking about that. And we want more women to kind of see that, hey, it's, you can use technology in wellness, you can use technology in finance. It's a very vast space. So this is what we're doing. We're having more people being outspoken, more women talking about what they're doing, whether it's failure or whether it's success.
Yeah. Well, I always hear this whole thing about women paving the way for other women and everything. And people always seem, oh yeah, finally women are paving the way. They've always been doing that. I mean, my point of view is this is actual normal human instinct is to start something so other people will follow, whether it's male or female or women or men. So women in Bahrain did face a lot of obstacles when it came to FinTech. What can you tell us about the obstacles they face?
I guess some of the obstacles is that the sector was not really humanized. When you hear about it, it's a very intimidating sector.
Yeah.
So people didn't really talk about it in terms of a career, in terms of a lifetime opportunity. They talked about it as a sector that once you go in, it's going to be really tough. You're going to have to do a lot of strides, but it's not really like that. I feel like men and women do work together. It's such a good environment. It's challenging, and also to your point as well, the startup space wasn't really as active as before. But now look at how we're doing. The private sector is working with the startup sector. The government is doing a lot, and all these different entities are integrating in such a smart format. So if you worked for a startup, or if you worked for the government, if you worked for a private sector in your own company, you can still come together and kind of blend that. So the women, I think their main obstacle is lack of awareness.
Yeah.
I don't think that they never had the abilities or they never had the chance to do that. It's just that they didn't know better.
Yeah.
They didn't know what the sector could provide for them.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing under this initiative. We're humanizing the sector. We're giving you a blueprint. Hey, this is the blueprint. This is what other women have done in the FinTech sector. These are the gaps as well. So if you could do better in the next few years, this is where you should be filling.
And show us how.
and show us how. So this is the more women talk, the more women we can have to lead the way.
Yes. Well, you're an expert within the field, and because of you being an expert, you even about a year ago from this month, so congratulations, happy anniversary.
Thank you.
You opened up Andra PR,
Yes.
and Andra is a consults regional and local clients. What can you tell us more about the services that are provided and the beneficiaries?
First of all, I'm so happy to be sitting here and just talking about that we've actually reached 1 year. It's very hard to talk about your own company when you started it. I mean, at 29, I resigned. I left a good job, and I decided to start my own strategic firm. But I've ran my own payments company. So I was in the fintech space for a while, about 3 years.
Okay.
But I kind of changed that role. I wanted to dive into the startup sector in the beginning. And then I realized I'm pretty good at consulting. And I've studied PR from NYU, so this was my passion. So I wanted to kind of flip the charts now.
Okay.
I'm like, I took all this knowledge, I learned a lot, I'm self-taught as well. I want to take that and consult other clients in Bahrain. So Andra is a bit different. We call it a kind of a niche boutiques PR firm that focuses on fintech and real estate and the education. And now we're just focusing on hospitality as well.
Amazing.
So what we do is we help people strategize. We help people come up with the key messages. We're not here to give you the buzz that you need or do a grand event. We're here to have people actually learn what your product can do for them. How can it make your product, how can it make people's lives better?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is what we want to do. So there's a new AI product in the market. We talk about it, we humanize it.
Yeah.
We make people understand that AI is not going to take your job, but this product can do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So we want all these clients that are coming to Bahrain, and we work with startups outside of Bahrain as well and in Bahrain, and we kind of want to make the platform of Bahrain, it is business friendly, but we want to also communicate that to the public.
Yes.
Hey, we have all these amazing clients, these are their products, these are their services, this is what we want you to learn from them, and how could it make a difference and impact in your life and impact the economy as well.
Yes.
So I think Andra is really paving the way to creating platforms and initiatives. We are also launching our second edition of FinTech series.
Amazing.
We bring amazing speakers from outside of Bahrain and inside of Bahrain, and anytime someone launches their product or just wants to hold an educational workshop to spread awareness, we give them that platform.
Yes.
So please stay tuned in February. We're going to have our first one.
Definitely, definitely. We're going to put the links up on our Instagram as well as the show here. When it comes to Andra and other companies in FinTech, a lot of people referred to the 2030 vision, the sustainability of everything. What can you tell us about the relation between these two?
Well, the main initiative of all this disruption is to go towards having a cashless economy, right? Of course, cash will always still be there. We're going to always have a segment of the audience that still doesn't understand how to manage all this disruption. But I feel like the vision of any country is to make the economy better for the people at the end of the day,
right,
in different factors. So these little initiatives, whether we're passing regulations or inviting startups to come set up in Bahrain or companies to come set up here, it all goes back to the community. It all goes back to the society. Correct. What can we do to make Bahrain to invite all these people to come in, to test their products? I like to always prefer to say that Bahrain is kind of the foot into the door, because you have Dubai, you have Saudi, you have all these bigger other economies as well, and they're bigger, they have more regulations and more initiatives. But with Bahrain, I think for the size that we are, we've passed on way more regulations, and it's not a competition of who passes who.
Correct.
It's more about how we're proactive.
Yeah.
And also I feel like Bahrain is such a small country and we're in the middle. It's kind of like we're giving you the chance to come here, start your startup journey, start the journey that you want, and then you can go from here. But this is the test bed. Yeah. We're allowing you to take the risks here. So this is the message that I think Bahrain gives out. And I love how all the parties, like I said, they all kind of blend in the right strategic format. Right. You want to be supported by the startup system, you get that support, and then the government comes in and kind of supports you from another angle. So you're covered and you're safe in all aspects. But we also give you the time to take the challenge and risk. So Vision 2030, honestly, we have a lot of factors under it, but the main concept is how to make your country and the people living in it have better lives for the long run.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things I always think of when I think about living in Bahrain and being part of the GCC countries, the GCC countries in general have always supported each other when it came to business, military, whatever it is. But when you really look at Bahrain is the business hub that opens up the doors to the other GCC countries, not only because it is in the middle of it, but also because it knows the regulations of the other countries. Of course. So you'll actually find some of the things that are being applied in Bahrain are also applied in Saudi, are also applied in the UAE, and hence it'll make it easier to actually enter that huge market.
It's so cohesive, and we build the strong links. You know, where you come to Bahrain, you learn a lot. You start up your business here, and then we allow you to access Saudi, and then you go to Saudi and to untap the other kind of market that you want to tap. So it's a very flexible environment, and I feel. And what makes me happy is a lot of people that come to Bahrain for the conferences here. They said the people are amazing here. You know, we've had smart conversations. We've gone back to the States. We've gone back to all these countries, and we've taken away the warmth of Bahrain.
Yes.
And the businesses that you guys have here, everybody opens their door.
Absolutely.
You know, and this is when I first came to Bahrain. I've been in the US for 8 years prior to coming here. When I wanted to start my FinTech startup, I just had to knock a few doors on people that were already doing it. And the doors were wide open. I didn't have to wait. I didn't have to, you know, I just wrote an email. Of course, you know, you can come in. This is what I've been doing, but I haven't been doing this quite right. Maybe this is a place where you could fix. So this meant a lot. It means a lot to a lot of people.
That's great. That's absolutely amazing. And on this note, we'd like to congratulate you on being recently recognized as the most influential woman in Bahrain in 2019, and the top 100 women in FinTech by Latic 80 in 2019. It's really important to mention.
Thank you so much.
I mean, you have done this on your own, and it took you a while to do it as well. And it's important to mention that the Latic 80 is the world's largest FinTech hub, which is building an ecosystem known as Kaya Network that connects over 11,000 FinTech startups and over 200,000 professionals. How important is it to you? How do you value being awarded these names? And it's a big responsibility to have them.
Thank you so much for mentioning that. I mean, I still get overwhelmed when I hear these things, but it's such an honor that I get to represent Bahrain in that way. Because I get to say, hey, look at what the women in Bahrain are doing through one or two people. So I think when Lattice, also I wrote an email to Lattice 80 and I told them, thank you so much for this honor, but can I just please tell you, this is all due to the ecosystem. The reason that we're on these lists, and you have a lot of Bahraini women on the Forbes list as well. Last year's list was amazing, and we had about 30 women. I could tell it with the 30 women, but it's all due to the ecosystem. The Supreme Council of Women, their 20-year plan, they're very supportive. The people here, especially when the Bahrain FinTech Bay, for example, you walk in, you want to learn more about FinTech. They have the talent reports. The numbers are high, and everyone supports you from a different aspect. That's what I've been saying. But I feel like representing Bahrain in that route has made me really proud. And it's just about all the support that I've been getting. And once you have that support, and it's also about talking about your failures. Bahrain is never shy to have initiatives where people can come and talk about what they've done wrong. And I think that's very important for an ecosystem. Because if people can come out there and be comfortable by saying, this is what we've done, can anyone help us do things better? And then people all kind of like integrate all their services together. It makes you stronger, it builds up your confidence. And a lot of women also come up and what's that line? There's a line that I like. Innovation is for everyone, and this is the best part about it. We just have to figure out what role we're going to play in this whole disruption era. Once you figure out your role, and obviously it takes time, you perfect it, you're going to fail a couple of times, there's going to be a couple of bumps, and then until you reach that point on, then you know what you're supposed to do. And then once you figure it out, it's your job and responsibility to lay out the blueprints for other people behind you.
Do you feel like going into this field and you being now a leader within this field, that you're in uncharted territories where you are putting the standards that should be met, or do you feel like there are unspoken standards?
I feel no matter what you do in life, you will always be in an uncharted territory. It will always feel like that regardless of what sector you come into. Of course, it did feel like that a bit more with FinTech because let's talk about FinTech wasn't really there. We've always had finance and technology. It was always present, but it wasn't until this magnitude. We didn't have this much innovation that was happening, and we didn't have this much shifts and changes. So I think, especially in this time and era, it will always be uncharted. You will never understand what could happen tomorrow. New technologies come in, regulations gets passed by, and suddenly you'd have to adapt to whatever is happening, and this ecosystem is shifting all the time. So the best way to do it is really self-teach yourself. We're in an amazing time where you can learn everything online. We're in an amazing time when you're interconnected globally. You can. I used to send LinkedIn messages to people that were very well known in their field, and I was never afraid of that. Like, hey, my name is Fatima, I'm from Bahrain, this is what we're doing in FinTech. I see that you're doing the same. Could you teach us on what could we take from you guys to implement here? So then the uncharted territory starts becoming a bit chartered, and you start being integrating with other people's ideology. So Singapore is about the same size as Bahrain. What we do is we exchange knowledge, and the more knowledge you exchange, the more the territory becomes humanized.
hence creating an organization that has a structure and has rules and everything.
It builds on itself.
Exactly. What are your suggestions to enhance the participation and the role of women in the field of fintech within the Kingdom of Bahrain?
Oh, I have so many. The first one is, I think organizations should also come up with creative campaigns. If you're hiring, know what the key messages are and focus a lot on women. If you think that, if, for example, let's just say there's a startup on cryptocurrencies or blockchain, come up with an interesting and incentivizing campaign for women. Target these women. Tell them, hey, why don't you come in for these interviews? Have creative ways of speaking to them. Yeah. Spread key messages from your organizations that allow both parties. And it's men and women, of course. But I'm just saying women shy away a little bit from when they hearing the buzzwords, like blockchain, AI, things like that. Although they find it exciting, they kind of also want a push from organizations to say, this is the place for you. Why don't you come, have a conversation, and let's see what you can do for us.
As well as acknowledgement.
As well as acknowledgement, exactly. And two, I think the women that are making strides within FinTech in Bahrain, step down from the pedestals. Talk to these other women. There are a lot of women that are completely smart, but they just don't know how to get themselves out there. They just need that extra push, and it has to come from other women. You've already laid out your success plan. What about the plan for other people to be successful? Right. This is really important. And I feel like people should also talk about the failures. Those are the two things. The third thing is we're doing more educational workshops as well. Define what it means to be a FinTech professional woman. Shadow them. Go to their offices, see what they do. Like I said, conversations is always key, but this is an ongoing thing, and awareness has to always keep on going. You can never stop awareness because, like I said, if things keep changing, you need to keep making the public aware that these are the changes that are happening. How can you be a part of it? Yeah. So these are all the 4 things I think that are the main buckets that what you can do. Define it, shadow it, connect, and please be aware and make other people aware as well.
Yeah. Coming to mind right now is the question, do you think that businesses in general, whether it's a hospital, large businesses that do services for people as well as products or any kind of business, do you think they should have some kind of a FinTech department that deals with the generalized public?
This is a good question. Of course, the perfect answer would be that every sector should have a FinTech department because this is the way that we're going. I feel like it could be a good balance. I don't think maybe you should necessarily have your own FinTech unit within the company. Why not partner with other FinTech startups that could do the same, and then both of you can be in a partnership where you could do things together. Yeah. Or you can, but for bigger companies that feel like FinTech is the way to go and 100%, then you'd need a dedicated unit and then this is where the hiring comes in. Yeah. Have more women, have more men work together in these units and kind of lead the initiatives. So it's really a little bit it depends on the structure, it depends on what you want to do, it depends on your initiatives, it depends on the products as well. Do you need a unit that you can have within your company? Because if it's a complicated product, then of course you'd need to have something centralized. But if it's a bank, for example, the traditional system would still keep on working, but you'd have all these different startups as well, integrating their core innovational products within your banking system. So I think it's a hybrid. It's either you have it within your system, or it's either that you have an external body kind of helping you kind of path the way. So a little bit of a balance, yeah.
Okay. Well, we've gotten to the end of our show. My last question to you is, any plans for 2020 that are foreseen right now?
Well, we're very excited to start I can't believe we're in 2020. Yeah. But like I said, we're starting our 2nd edition of the FinTech series. Yeah. We're really bringing amazing speakers from outside Bahrain to come in here and to kind of shed light on the things that they're doing. Definitely. I'm also very happy that we're starting a mentorship database under the Women in FinTech initiative, where we're actually creating very strategic cross-regional ties with a lot of amazing women that are doing the same. So we can't wait to share that. And we're also going to be doing a lot of educational initiatives that are going to be the first of their kind. So I'd like to keep it a little bit of a surprise, but please stay tuned to our channels. Know what Andra PR is doing. We're doing a lot, and 2020 is going to be bigger and better for sure.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being with us
today.
Thank
you so much, Sarah. I've really enjoyed my time here.
Thank you for answering our questions, and we will be following up on the 2nd edition of FinTech and be covering it. And we'd also like to thank you, dear viewers, for watching, and see you next week in another episode of Inside Edition.